Hello and welcome to this edition of Ringside Digest. I'm your host Kirk Day, along with my co-hosts Noah Byrne and Nick Miller. And today we're going to go over some mock trades. Now, we got the deadline coming up March 3rd, and we have a few big names that could be moved. So these ones come from Daily Dose Hockey on Instagram. I'll leave a link to their page down in the description. And it's some pretty good players. These are from people who submitted them to him, and we seen them on Instagram. We thought we'd like them, so we're just going to go over them today. So we're not going to waste any time. We're just going to get straight into our first one here, which is Timo Meier. Now, this one is Timo Meier is going to the Carolina Hurricanes for Seth Jarvis and a first. Now, Seth Jarvis is 21 years old, got 27 points in 54 games, 2 years left on his entry level, including this year. So it fits well with what the San Jose Sharks are trying to do. And now he's possible to happen. The financials can work both sides. It's something you'll see in similar return going back to San Jose with the first and a young guy prospect, pretty good. So, 10 million cap space, and they don't have to do much in free agency for Carolina. So I can kind of see this happening. It'll work both ways. So let me know what you think about it, Noah.
Timo Meier obviously is a huge name. We've been talking about him now since the start of the season. It makes sense for both teams. I really think, like you said, Jarvis, young star in the making, goes over to San Jose, a team not really contending. Timo Meier goes back to Carolina on a contending team. I don't know if they can resign him come July 1st, but I do like him there. I think he fits very well. And not to mention, you do add a late first round pick in there as well. You never know what that could be come draft day.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with you there. Meier to the Kane sounds like a really good move for a deep playoff run. Timo Meier's been on a few teams that have went on a few playoff runs. Like earlier in his days in San Jose, he was on. I don't believe he was on the finals team, but he was there for a few years after. So a promising young player going back to San Jose as well with a first round pick. It is a late first round pick, but I don't mind getting Seth Jarvis in that for San Jose at all.
Yeah, I agree. I can see San Jose probably getting a tiny bit more, but I can see it with Seth Jarvis how good he is already. He's only 21. Plus that first-round pick, as we know, this draft is a very, very deep draft. So
absolutely.
That late pick could end up being someone who any other draft would probably be a top 15.
Yeah. Now, Jarvis also gets a bigger role in San Jose. I know he's kind of struggled over there in Carolina, and he slots in perfectly in their top six. And, you add maybe Bedard, who knows? You add a couple young pieces in there, and he fits very well there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, with the second one here, we got Erik Karlsson. So this one is Erik Karlsson going to the Edmonton Oilers with 30% retained for Tyson Barrie, Kyler Yamamoto, Xavier Bourgault, and a first. Now, when Erik Karlsson's 11.5 is retained, that goes to an 8.05, so basically $8 million. And I can see this being this type of return you'd see for Erik Karlsson. Maybe change out a few of who the players are, but you get two young guys in Yamamoto and Bourgault and a first. And Tyson Barrie, you could probably change that out for maybe another pick or someone else, because I can't see Tyson Barrie really being involved in that trade, because $8.7 million is going back to San Jose. So that's just in players from Edmonton going to San Jose, not including the retained part. So I can't really see San Jose trading Erik Karlsson, but not really gaining any cap space. But if Edmonton wanted to make this work, I think they could certainly do it by lowering how much they're sending to San Jose. Obviously, they would also have to move some cap. But I think that it would be a pretty good idea for Edmonton to at least try to make this happen. So what do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I'm going to touch on the same thing you kind of touched on there. The values there, Tyson Barrie is good solid second line, second D pairing guy. Yamamoto, young guy as well. Kind of struggled a little bit in Edmonton. Slots in over there perfectly in San Jose. Bourgault, he's one of the Oilers' top prospects. Had a pretty good junior career. Had a pretty good World Juniors a couple years back, if I remember. And you had that first round pick. The only thing I think could be tricky would be Karlsson has a no move clause, so he'd have to waive that to go to Edmonton. Now, I mean, if I'm Erik Karlsson, I take that all day. I mean, you get the chance to play with McDavid and Draisaitl, and I won't mention anybody else, but they have a pretty solid team. But I do like it in the sense of value. I don't know if it's enough in the sense of Tyson Berry. I don't know if he gets it done. I really don't.
Yeah, this move obviously doesn't really help the Sharks. It helps the Oilers more than anybody. I mean, it helps the Oilers offensively as if they need it. But San Jose, I hate this return for San Jose. I don't think Tyson Berry would be a part of the deal, like you said. But I don't mind the first round pick, and the reason I hate it so much is because they're retaining so much salary. I don't think that's realistic for San Jose to want to retain that much salary, especially if they were getting players like Barry and Yamamoto back. I don't like this for them at all, but I love it for the Oilers.
Yeah, I fully agree. And now with our third one, we have it's Matt Dumba involved, but it's mainly Kevin Hayes as well. So this one is Kevin Hayes going to the Minnesota Wild for Matt Dumba and a second-round pick. Now, as a Minnesota fan, I don't like this one. Now, I have several reasons why, and it's nothing against Kevin Hayes, but it's just for certain reasons Minnesota shouldn't make this deal. Mainly because Minnesota's buyout penalty this year is $12.7 million for the buyouts of Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, and in the next 2 years after, it's $14.7 million. Now, with Kevin Hayes is making 7.1, this is just not doable for Minnesota. They can't afford to have. They need a center. They need a number one center. Kevin Hayes is playing well, but they can't afford right now to be paying $7.1 million for Kevin Hayes. It's just not reasonable for them right now. I can see it with some other center, especially if it's someone who's like a top level, top tier center, number one. But it's for Kevin Hayes, I don't like it. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I'm kind of reiterate what you said, and there's one thing that I don't like about this deal, and that's Kevin Hayes to Minnesota, right? Like, that's way too much money to be paying a center in, especially in a cap struggling team. Maybe a team like Ottawa comes in and swipes up Matt Dumba. You know, they're pretty lacking on their defense, and I think they got some picks and prospects that could make it work over there.
Yeah, Minnesota's already experiencing the effects of that Suter Parise buyout. I don't see how Kevin Hayes, who's having a good year, but the contract runs out when I think he's 34 in 2026 at $7.1 million for a guy that's just having a good year this year that everyone thought was a really bad contract last year and years previous. I don't really see how this works for Minnesota. I don't see this deal happening at all.
I agree. Minnesota does have a lot of their star players already locked up. Even with that, I still not the biggest fan of it, just because if they want to add, they won't be able to add that contract if they want to add in the next few years. They just can't afford that much at the current time.
So. I think they could get a little bit better for Dumba. I really do. Now I know. At the time of the video, I think Zaitsev just got traded for not very much, but I really think they could get a decent haul for Matt Dumba.
Yeah, especially for someone who's looking for someone like him and willing to extend him, because I can see him making around what he's making right now, $6 million again. I don't see him making too much more, if at all. I can't see him making really like a lot less than that. So you're kind of hovering around that $6 million range for him again, like whatever team he signs for, Minnesota or not. It's going to be around that area. So any team that's willing to pay that for him, they can. Oh yeah. They can definitely try to go get him.
One guy, I mean, the first guy that comes to mind, I think, is Brock Besser. Hometown kid. Dumba and Brock Besser both kind of need a little bit of a change of scenery. They're both kind of making roughly the same. I think Dumba's, you said six mil. Yeah. I think Besser's somewhere around 6.5 if I am correct. So Besser goes hometown. Dumba goes a little bit closer to home as well. I think he's from Calgary if I am correct. But maybe they both need a change of scenery and maybe they both light it up.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. And now with our fourth player here, we have someone who we're very familiar with. We speak about it a lot, Patrick Kane. So for this one, we have Patrick Kane going to the Dallas Stars, who we've mentioned a lot as well. He's always tied there. For Denis Gurianov, Maverick Bourque, and a first-round pick, which is very small there, but is a 2024 first-round pick that is a top 5 protected. So I think this really depends on Patrick Kane's no-move clause. We know that he has that, and there's only a few teams that he wants to go to. And I can see Dallas being one of them, it's still an American team, which is where he's from. Like, probably don't want to go to Canada overly. I mean, if he wants to, he's got like Toronto's really his only option right now. Like, they're the only team who's fully committed to him. It seems like, but it seems like Chicago's getting desperate to make a decision or to reach a decision on what Patrick Kane wants to do. It's kind of the return they want. They want a first-round pick. They want a prospect. But it depends. It all depends on Patrick Kane. It's just up to him. He fits there somewhat. It's still a very crowded right side. It's interdivisional. But, I mean, if Dallas wants that to happen, I can see them trying to do it. And I don't really think Chicago at this point is really in contention for anything anytime soon. So it'll work. I can see it happening. I can see it not. It all kind of depends on what the return is. So let me think. What do you think, Noah?
In the terms of like value, I like it. I like Maverick Bourque. I like Gurianov. I'm gonna go with the common theme here of a guy struggling, needs a change of scenery. But if like I said, I think I said in the previous video, I am asking for Logan Stankoven. Plain and simple. Like the guy is going to be a stud in the league. I've said it before, and to get the caliber of player like Patrick Kane, you're going to have to give up a top prospect, and I don't know if Maverick Bourque gets it done.
Yeah, no, to me the return doesn't seem like much really for Patrick Kane. Although this might be the return where Chicago's hands might be a little bit tied in the end. If Patrick Kane wants to go and that's all they can get for him, then so be it, because it's either you trade him or you get nothing for him when he leaves in free agency. So
yeah, fair.
With Gurianov, there's no guarantee he even stays. He's on the last year of his deal as well. Maverick Bourque in a first-round pick doesn't seem like much for a 3-time Stanley Cup champion who's still got it, does it?
I don't know. That's what it's iffy.
Yeah. So for Dallas, I really like it, but for Chicago, not so much.
Yeah.
Now with our fifth and final player here, we have Ivan Barbashev, or Ivan Barbashev, however you pronounce it. And this one is going to Boston. So it's Ivan Barbashev for Johnny Beecher and a first-round pick. Now, Beecher's between 5 and 8 on most Bruins prospect rankings from what I've seen. And it's a pretty good return, I guess, for what Boston have in prospects. They don't have too much. But Barbashev fits well into a Boston team who's only looking to get better, who's probably going to go deep in the playoffs, which I think will happen. But the thing is, we see St. Louis now trying to go for Timo Meier as well. So I kind of question what they're going to do with Barbashev. Like, they can't get rid of too much if they're still trying to get Timo Meier and going for a playoff run. Because if they do that, they're going to have nobody left.
Yeah.
So it will have to see what happens with that one. But it's a good return, I guess, for what you're trying to get rid of for Barbashev. So what do you think, Noah?
Yeah, to add another first-round pick to already, I think it's 3 first-round picks that the Blues have now, is insane to me. I can't get over the fact that Barbashev is going to fetch a first-round pick. If I'm being completely honest, I see him no higher than a 2 center, maybe even a 3 center, really. And I'm not sure his exact contract details, but I'm just blown away that he's going to get a first-round pick.
Yeah, I think that's what Boston needs, though, is a middle 6 type of center. Because, they've already got Patrice Bergeron. They've already got David Krejci. So, God forbid something happens to one of those guys. And then you might need Ivan Barbashev to pop into a top 6 role rather than a middle 6 role, which I think is less than ideal for Boston. Because I also am baffled by the fact that he's going to get a first-round pick. He's got similar production to Ryan O'Reilly in points-wise this year before he went to Toronto. That's, of course, before he scored that hat trick the other night. But without Ryan O'Reilly's defense and faceoffs. So I don't really see what the huge upside is for him. Third-line center, I don't mind it. But, I think that could help Boston for what they need. A first-round pick isn't much, but, yeah.
Oh, they had some depth there in Boston, which, and you can't go wrong with depth, right? Especially in playoff time, I should say.
Yeah, well, this could also be a future move as well. Well, they have Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci, who at the end of this year could retire, and that's 2 of their top centermen gone. So that could be a move where they just try to look to trade for him cheap when St. Louis wants to get rid of him and try to keep him in the long run as a number 1, number 2 if they have to. it probably not ideal. But
Yeah.
it's what Boston would need to do if they both retire after this year, because they would have to spend way too much to be able to go and get a center somewhere else, because teams would know that Boston is desperate for another one.
How confident are you in? Sorry.
They've got Zacha who can play center, so I mean that could probably be that's probably going to be their number 1 or 2 if Krejci and Bergeron both retire this year, and maybe Barbashev and Zacha are their number 1 and 2 centers. I'm not sure I like that very much, but it's a big difference having Krejci and Bergeron for the last almost 15 years now. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That's what I was going to say. How confident are you in even Barbashev as your first line center? I don't know.
Yeah, it could do for a short time, but I wouldn't say in the long run it's the smartest move to make. But if they have to, that's all they can do. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's all for this video, guys. And if you like this style of video, let us know, because we're going to be doing stuff like this: mock trades, free agency, top free agents, top trade bait, along with our news videos. So make sure to subscribe if you like this video. And we're going to be posting throughout the year, off season. Like I've always said it, we're going to be doing it throughout the whole season, off season playoffs. It's going to be good. So make sure to subscribe, and thank you for watching.